all about the sub-branches of ballistics, okay, or other ballistics. So you have there the shots or the shotgun ballistics, you have the wound ballistics, the handgun ballistics, the rifle ballistics, and the airgun ballistics. So somehow, these firearms, they have different trajectories, or they also cause different effect, or they have different impact on the target. And basically, as earlier discussed, firearms are manufactured for certain purposes. Okay. Now we will start discussing with the handgun ballistics. Okay. Then later on the rifle ballistics, the shot and shotgun ballistics, and then the airgun ballistics. Okay, ihuli natin yung wound ballistics natin kasi medyo mahaba yung discussion natin diyan. Okay, so handgun ballistics. So when you say handgun, basically these are firearms that can be manipulated by you call it by your arms, no? It is different from the shoulder arms. Okay, rifles are shoulder arms, meaning they are fired from the shoulder. Okay, so magkaiba yung handgun. When you say handgun, we are referring to pistols, okay, revolvers, like that, no? Okay. On the other hand, when you say shoulder guns, those firearms which are fired using the shoulder, and mostly those are the rifles, okay, the assault rifles, and including we call it shotguns. On the other hand, handgun we may include the submachine gun, no? Okay, yung mga submachine gun natin, yan yung mga MP3, MP4, no? Hindi yung mga music player yan, ha? Okay, but those are the we call it the European submachine guns. Okay, submachine guns, they use what you call pistol projectiles. Kaya ginagamit ng mga yan. Then you have the also the caliber 45 Thompson submachine gun. So we have that, no? They are considered as handguns. They are not fired using the shoulder actually. Okay, so handgun, these are usually used in shooting incident because they are easily concealed. Okay. However, the problem is they are hard to aim accurately. Okay. If you would like to aim them accurately, you have to stand still. And you know, in shooting incidents or in actual or in real crimes, okay, hindi ka naman pwedeng nakatayo at i-aim mo siya ng matagal, no? Kagaya ng ginagawa nyo nung kayo nagpa-firing, ang tagal nyong mag-aim, nabot kayo ng ilang segundo. Okay? Kapag sa totoong buhay, it's a matter of second, talagang putukan na yan, ano? Okay, so kaya ang tendency niyan, kapag medyo malayo yan, ay sumasablay yung tama niyan kasi mabilisan yung kilos. Unless na yung shooter ay tinatawag nating isa siyang marksman or isa siyang na-train sa mga tawag natin mga close quarter combat or the CQB, no? In which later on, if you will join the service, yan ang isa sa mga training yung mga CQB. Kaya kapag may mga shooting incidents, tapos very effective yung no? Very accurate yung shooter, okay? At kapag nakita doon sa CCTV na yung stance ng shooter ay para siyang trained na shooter, so most likely ang mga suspect nila dyan, mga military personnel or mga police personnel. So for example, there was a congressman who was assassinated, no, while speaking doon sa isang basketball court. Okay, I will not name that congressman. Okay, accordingly, he was suspected to be involved in illegal drug trades. Okay, nakuha doon sa CCTV yung pagbanat sa kanya using small arms and using submachine guns. Okay, mga handguns. Okay, by the way, small guns is different from handguns. No, handguns are examples of small arms. We are going to discuss that later on. Okay. Ngayon, makikita dun sa CCTV na very accurate yung shooter. More than 7 meters, tinatamaan niya. At 10 yards, tinatamaan niya yung target. At makita mo yung stance talaga nila, talagang they are trained sa CQB, no? Kaya tuloy nagkaroon ng, tawag natin, ng suspicion na baka ito'y pre-project ng mga law enforcement officer or military officer, okay? Although we cannot discount the possibility that there are private individuals who are also trained in CQB. Kasi ngayon sa mga firing range kasi natin ngayon, hindi lang yung usual na firing na nakatayo ka, naka-prone na shooting ka, naka-stand position ka, or nakadapa ka. Hindi lang ganon. Ngayon, may mga CQB na rin. May mga tinatawag nating CQB na rin sa mga private individual. So, more or less, pwede rin siguro na ang suspect mo doon or ang suspect doon ay mga talagang properly trained sa CQB. Because the reality, yung mga handgun natin talagang at the most mga between 7 to 10 yards, okay? Or mga 5 meters to 8 meters yung mga accuracy niyan kapag sa mga talagang shooting na mga yung nagtatakbuhan or harap-harapan. So that's why most handgun shootings occur at less than 7 yards. But even so, most bullets miss their intended target, okay? Yan ang idea niyan. And then usually, they are employed in crime because they are cheaper and lighter to carry and easier to control when shooting. That's why police officers need to understand yung tawag natin yung ballistics ng handgun. Okay? Kaya kapag tinutukan ka ng baril medyo malayo, medyo nasa 10 meters, may tsansa ka na tinatawag natin di tamaan. May tsansa ka na medyo sa pag-ilag mo ay malilate yung suspect sa pagkalabit ng trigger niya. Okay? So, sinasabi nito na, may tsansa. Okay? At the same time also, sinasabi rin ng understanding natin sa ballistics na kapag hindi ka marksman talaga, at 10 meters away, baka daplis yung tamaan mo. Diba? Lalo kapag gumagalaw. Okay? Lalo kapag tumatakbo or naglalakad ka. That's why normally, ang mapapansin nyo sa mga crimes natin, talagang mga close contact palagi yung mga banat nila doon or the proximity is masyadong malapit para siguradong tamaan. Okay? And of course, isa rin yan sa tinitingnan ng mga kinokontrol ng ating government kasi nga mura at madaling itago. So, malamang ito yung mga tinatawag nating more or less karamihan sa mga na-encounter ng ating mga law enforcement officers. And of course, yung handgun, okay, with the advent of technologies, ammunition, so marami ng iba't ibang mga projectiles, okay, intended for handgun na pwedeng mag-create ng powerful and shocking power or stopping power, no, by using expanding bullets, by using deforming bullets, no, by using frangible bullets like that, no. We will discuss that later on sa inyong topic sa mga cartridges natin. Okay? So just to increase, no. At saka ngayon, meron na mga handgun ngayon na ang bala niya ay pointed, no? Hindi kagaya nung unang panahon pag sinabi mong handgun, okay, basically yan ay mga hemispherical at mga or round nose ang ginagamit yan or mga hollow point like that or soft point. Yun ang mga usual noon. Pero with the technology that we have today and with the advancement of ballistics, na mayroon ng mga handgun, mga submachine guns na ang bala nito ay pointed. Okay? Pero naka-design sila for handgun. Maiigsi yung kanilang cartridge cases. And the most handguns bullets deliver less than 1,000 feet-pound of kinetic energy. Okay, kaya medyo kulang yung knockdown power niya. However, okay, yung mga mas mataas na caliber, mataas yung kanilang natawag nating knockdown power. Kaya gumagamit sila ng expanding bullets or gumagamit din sila ng mga deforming bullet so that magkaroon siya ng greater diameter pag tama sa target at magkaroon ito ng tinatawag nating greater knockdown power. Okay. So moving on, there are two major variables that determines the flight of the projectile, okay? And the power of the projectile as it hits the target. Well, basically the diameter. As we know, the smaller the diameter, okay, but greater the mass, it has a better ballistic efficiency, okay. And of course, the greater the diameter, it has a greater knockdown power, or the greater the diameter should have a greater gunpowder grain. Okay, kaya dalawa yung variables yan na pinag-usapan natin, yung caliber or the diameter of the bullet, and the volume of the gunpowder in the cartridge case. So, you notice sa comparison ng ammunitions for handgun from caliber 22 to Magnum 44, you notice that somehow the greater the diameter, you notice that there should be greater gunpowder. Okay? So again, with that in mind, so kailangan i-modify mo yung firearm kapag gusto mo na mas malakas yung knocking power, gusto mo na mas malaki yung projectile mo, so hindi pwedeng gumamit ka ng cartridge case na kasing size ng caliber 40 yung length niya insofar as 357 or caliber or Magnum 44 is concerned. So kailangan lakihan yung tawag natin lakihan yung or habaan at lakihan din yung cartridge case para mas marami yung gunpowder na may lalagay doon. That is to enable the shooter to, we call it to create the expected impact or effect on the target. Okay, so moving on. What about the rifle ballistics? No? Many different cartridges are available using different loads and bullets design. Okay? Ang rifle ballistics natin, hindi lamang pointed, no? During the olden times, pointed. Okay, for penetration purposes. However, mayroong mga round nose. Okay, yung mga round nose ngayon, ginagamit yon for hunting purposes. Say for example, pag yung mga naghahunt sila ng mga malalaking hayop. Okay, yung mga malalaking hayop kasi niyan, pag tinatamaan yan, hindi yan natutumba. So eventually, they will continue to attack the hunters or they will continue to attack human beings. Say for example, mga buffalo like that, no? So with that, they invented the rifles, okay, or ammunitions that are designed to be fired on rifles. So that pag ang mga tinatamaan nila ay mga hayop or mga malalaking hayop, at least magkakaroon ng knocking or knockdown power nun. Okay? So, yun ang idea niyan. Okay, so what else? The rifle also ay tinatawag natin na greater yung kanyang penetrating effect, greater yung velocity. Obviously, dahil although mas maliit yung caliber ng iba, pero mahaba yung kanilang cartridge cases. So, mas marami yung kanilang tinatawag natin powder grain. So, expectedly, they will have greater velocity and greater distance and greater power, no? Ayan. So, hindi pwede na gawin mong handgun yun. Kasi, imaginin mo na lang yung magazine. Okay? Yung magazine ng Armalite or magazine ng M14 or AK-47. Doon mo ilalagay ngayon, lagay mo doon sa may grip. Lagay mo yung doon, yung magazine. Paano mo hawakan yan? So, hindi pwede. That's why they are only intended to be fired on the shoulder. Ito mga rifles natin. Okay? So, kaya hindi pwede na mag-invento ka ng handgun na bala niya AK-47. Just try to imagine how are you going to hold it, okay? Now, of course, another idea why they should be fired on the shoulder kasi ito, mas mahaba at mas marami siyang powder grain. So, expectedly, mas malakas yung kanyang blowback or yung kanyang recoil. So, pinangsasangga yung tawag natin yung shoulder. Although, there are some people na malakas yung mga braso nila, kagaya ni Rambo or napapanood nyo sa pelikula, pwede yun, di ba? Okay. So, pwede pag malakas yung braso mo, no? Okay. Now, moving on, what about the shots and shotgun ballistics? Shots and shotgun ballistics are discussed together, no? They should not be separated in discussions, okay? Though this particular topic will be discussed more comprehensively in a later lesson, let me just discuss some few things about the shotgun. So when you say shots and shotgun ballistics, we are discussing on how projectiles or shots and pellets fly on the air at anong ginagawa. Okay? So ano dapat yung mga tawag natin, ano dapat yung sizes nito since gumagamit ka lang ng since ito yung mga pellets, okay? So para saan, anong purpose yung mga tawag natin mga pellets na yan. So basically, as earlier mentioned, ang shotgun kasi, they were designed only for hunting purposes. Kaya maraming pellets yan. So as the pellets fly on the air, so they will separate. So ang purpose niya para sa mga birds, para sa tinatawag natin mga flocks of birds. Okay, kung saan uh, to whom it may concern, kung ilan yung tatamaan mo, no? Kaya ganun yon. And eventually, of course, ang shotgun ay ginagamit na rin yan against larger animals and against human beings. Okay? Kaya nagiging part of interest na rin yan ng ballistics, particularly forensic ballistics. So again, just like any other firearm, ballistics also are manufactured, okay, for certain purposes and intent. Okay? And whatever is the intent or the desired effect on the target, the shotgun is the shotgun should be, or the shotgun itself should be modified. And of course, the modification also of the ammunition so that it can deliver the desired effect. Okay. So further discussion of this matter shall be discussed in the latter we call it lesson. Okay. So it fires basically shotgun shells containing the powder, the waddings, the shot, and normally enclosed in a plastic or cardboard casing. So with that in mind, iba yung expect mo na flight ng projectile. So since iba yung projectile, so anong kailangan mo na gawin, na i-modify so that you can get the desired effect on that shotgun, okay? Or from that shotgun. So with that, we'll discuss it later on sa sinasabi ko nga sa ating later topic natin. No? Now, moving on. What about the air gun? Original ang air gun kasi, tinatawag nilang BB or ball bearing guns. Okay? So, pag sinabing ball bearing, yan, sa mga hindi nakakaunawa, lalo sa mga babae, okay? Of course, may mga babae na alam yung ball bearing. Pag sinabing ball bearing kasi, pag kumuha kayo ng mga bearing, no? May mga nagmumotor, pag may bearing yan, kinalog na yung bearing yan, eh malamang kulang sa grasa, kulang sa grease noon, kaya nagkaroon ng friction. So yung mga bola niya doon na maliliit, okay, medyo kumakalog na, no? Ganon. So yung mga bola ng mga tawag natin bearing, no, sa iniikutan ng bearing, yun yung mga natawag nilang BB or ball bearing. Kaya tinatawag nilang baby guns ito kasi normally yun ang kanilang ginagamit as projectile. However, okay, with the advent of the technology in ballistics, okay, so nagkaroon na ng iba't ibang mga projectile, just like the images down below. Yan ay mga iba't ibang projectile na pwedeng gamitin sa mga air guns ngayon. And basically, these are designed for certain purposes, just like para mas mapalayo yung lipad ng air projectile ng air gun, at the same time para makapag-deliver siya ng stopping power or shocking power na kailangan nito kapag ito ay ginagamit sa mga ibon. Okay? Again, ang air gun, just like shotgun, okay, air guns are originally designed for hunting purposes also. Okay? Pero ngayon, marami nang gumagamit ng airgun at napakarami na ring klase ng airgun. Kasi nung bata ko, ang airgun, yung binubumbahan lang, bumba lang gano'n, binubumba lang gano'n. Okay? And then later on, nung nag-high school ako, meron na nabibili na mga canister, okay, or compressed gas tank, di ba? Okay, kaya pag may airgun ka nun na compressed gas tank, sikat ka na, di ba? Mga iskopita namin, ang tawag namin yung iskopita, no? Ayan, mga binubumba lang na, ganyan ng mga, no? So medyo limited yung kanyang power, no? Kaya kailangan ng maliliit, okay? However, as I said, though yan ay mga low velocities, okay? Though yan ay mga low energies, they can cause severe injury, such as to the eye and even to the abdominal organs. Pag sa tiyan tumama yan, delikado yan, okay? Yan, so, kaya ngayon marami nang na-encounter din ng mga kaso, accidental firing or intentional firing using air guns. Okay, so the BB or the projectile of the air gun, okay, can penetrate to a depth of 25 millimeter. No? So pag 25 millimeter yan, naabot din yan ng mga more or less 2.54 millimeter is 25.4 millimeter is 1 centimeter. Okay, yan. Okay, 1 inch pala yun, 1 inch, di ba? So, papasok ng 1 inch. So, pag tumama sa mata niyan, nako, pasok yung 1 inch sa mata, di ba? 25.4 millimeter is equivalent to 1 inch. So, pag tumama sa tiyan ng bata, just like the picture here, na, okay, merong tawag natin tumama sa mukha na tawag natin, okay, doon sa may cheek niya na ball bearing, no? Pag tumama yan sa mga tawag natin, tumama yan sa mga body organs natin, okay, like mata or sa organ ng mga bata, eh delikado yan. Kakamatay din yan. Okay? Pwede rin dito pag sa dibdib ng mga bata. Okay? Lalong-lalo yung mga cylindrical shape na mga projectile nito ng air gun, eh pwedeng makapatay yan. In fact, there is what you call a proposal na yung ownership ng air gun ngayon ay talagang dapat lahat na ay magkaroon ng registration. Okay? Although in your RA 8294, it says there that and in your 10591, it says there that air gun can be considered as firearms as long as they are not used for toys. But how are you going to distinguish those which are intended to be used as toys or not? Okay? Kapag mag-browse kayo kay Lazada o kay Shopee, makikita nyo may mga high-powered na doon na mga air guns. Okay? Ayan. So, actually, I'm intending to buy. Kanya lang, nanghinayang ako. Bili lang sana ako pang demonstration purposes ko lang sana. Kasi mga air handgun ngayon, almost the same yung mechanism niya. Say, for example, yung Glock Generation 4, mga ganyan. 1911 na series na mga caliber. So, almost parehas yan. Kaya ang pagkakaiba lang talaga yung tawag natin, yung mechanism nito, yung kanyang magazine. Pero almost the same yan sa outside saka doon sa more or less sa nakikita natin. For familiarity purposes, pwedeng gamitin yon for discussion, for demonstration purposes. At the same time, may mga tao na rin na magagaling na nire-design nila yung mga tawag natin na bibili ng mga air guns ngayon, air handguns. Okay? Yung mga those ang mga presyo mga 5,000 to 10,000, no? Mga ngayon kino-convert na mga ngayon na pwedeng gamitin nila na gumamit ng caliber 22. Okay? Caliber 22 ammunition, no? ng firearms, okay? So yun ang delikado niyan. Okay, that's why there are some countries na hindi ito kasama sa gun regulation. Although in our country, sinasabi doon na kapag yan ay intended as a toy or it is designed as a toy, okay, and lower yung caliber niya, pwedeng hindi ma-regulate. Pero pag masyadong malaki na yan, okay, pag nahuli yan, okay, so pwede kang kasuhan ng illegal possession of firearm. And of course, as mentioned, so marami na rin na-encounter na kaso involving air guns just like in cases of homicide and suicide cases. So nagkakaroon na rin ng interest ang mga ballisticians to study the attributes of the projectile as well as the mechanism of the air gun so that if ever may mga natawag natin may encounter ng cases, at least alam nila kung paano explain yung injury or paano explain yung trajectory ng mga air guns natin. Okay? Now, moving on, we have the wound ballistics. Ito ay masarap na topic sa umagang-umaga, lalo sa mga kumakain dyan at mga hindi pa kumakain. So, tinanggalan ko na lang ito ng mga morbid images para mas okay. Okay, so the wound ballistics basically is part of your forensic legal or your forensic medicine or your legal medicine. So ito, na-topic nyo na ito sa inyong legal medicine, I suppose, or in your special crime investigation with legal medicine. I think special crime investigation 2, yun, with legal medicine. So, medyo familiar na kayo dito, no? Kasi wala na yata kayong separate na legal medicine, embedded na yata. So let us take a review on the wound ballistics. If you have already discussed that in your specialized crime investigation or legal medicine subject, if you have that, okay, hoping that you can relate no sa topic nito. Yan. Okay, so gunshot wounds, these are open wounds. Diba? Normally, open wounds. Wala namang close wound yan, di ba? Open wounds, okay, produced by the penetration of bullets or slug within the tissue of the body. In the study of, okay, on the study of the gunshot wound, what are the things that we can determine? Yan. Unang-una, pwede natin makita ano yung wounding weapon or firearm, okay? So, pwedeng from the entrance wound or from the entrance wound or the exit wound, more or less magkaroon yung idea yung police officer or the investigator what caliber or anong klaseng weapon yung ginamit. Okay? So, based on experience and based on the standard chart they kept by the crime laboratory, they will have an idea that such gunshot wound is caused by a certain caliber and a certain weapon, whether it is coming from a handgun or a rifle or a shotgun. So what else? Determining now the entrance or exit wound. So mahalaga yan. Ha? And of course, determining also the relative position of shooter and victim. Meaning, ano talaga yung position niya? Sabi niya ay walang homicide, no? Ay walang murder. Okay? Kasi harap-harapan. It turned out, nasa likod pala niya. So, how would you know that? Okay? Or nasa tagiliran pala niya. Then, another thing, sa gunshot wound examination, pwede rin makita yung approximate distance or proximity of shooter, okay? And the shooter or the firearm, okay? So, we already discussed that yesterday, no? Yung some portion of that. And then, of course, from the study of the gunshot wound, okay, you can either or you can more or less determine whether it is homicidal, accidental, or self-inflicted or suicide na tinatawag natin. Kasi in most cases, pag may mga nabaril, ang palaging depensa niyan ay either self-defense or accidental or self-inflicted. Or forensic medicine comes in to, we call it to give light on the shooting incident, whether it's a case of homicidal, accidental, or suicide. Okay? And then, of course, determine also whether that particular gunshot wound is antemortem or postmortem. O pag-usapan natin mamaya kung ano yan. Now, as to the wounding weapon, there is already standard ng mga appearance nito. So, the lesser the entrance wound, so more or less, ano ba yung mga tawag natin, mga standard caliber natin? Normally, mag-start tayo sa caliber 22, caliber 25, caliber 30, caliber 32, di ba? Okay. Caliber 357, more or less that is caliber 38. And that is equivalent to 9 mm. Then you have caliber 45. Okay, that's around 11 mm. So then if you go higher, caliber 50, caliber 60. So doon pa lang, normally masasabi mo na ito ay tawag natin, ito ay caliber 22 or caliber, more or less ito ay caliber 30, like that. At the same time, kapag mineasure mo, yung tawag natin, mineasure mo yung gunshot wound, parang mas maliit naman sa caliber 22. Baka caliber 18 ito. Hindi pa pwede. Na mineasure mo, oy, ito ay, by the way, pag sinabi natin caliber 38, that is 0.38 of an inch, okay? Kaya pag sinabi mong caliber 40, it is 0.40 of an inch, okay? Yan, ang idea niyan. So kapag mineasure mo siya, at ito ay less than 0.38 of an inch, baka sabihin mo na ito'y caliber 30. Of course, ang general consideration mo dyan ay ito ay tinatawag natin na smaller than the caliber of the projectile. Bakit smaller than the caliber of the projectile yung gunshot wound? Kasi yung ating katawan, okay, anumang bagay sa mundo ay merong tinatawag na elasticity. Okay? At merong elasticity point or elasticity limit na tinatawag natin. Okay? So lahat ng mga nakikita natin ng mga physical object may mga elasticity limit ang mga yan. So yung more so yung katawan natin, elastic yan. Pag tama niyan, so elastic siya, parang goma. So lulusot yung projectile, babalik siya. Okay? So it will turn out na mas malit na siya dun sa caliber ng projectile. Ganun ang idea niyan. And again, as I've said, base sa experience ng investigator at medical legal officer, meron siyang idea, more or less, kung anong caliber ito. No? At the same time, whether ito'y caliber 9mm, okay, o ito'y caliber 22, yung size niya. Pero, yung kanyang tawag natin, yung kanyang destruction ng tissue sa loob ng katawan ng tao, ay parang tawag natin, grabe yata. So, hindi naman ito kayang inflict ng ordinary caliber 22 pistol at revolver. So, you can now have an idea na malamang it is fired from a rifle, no? Yung rifle na using caliber 22, di ba? So, yun ang idea nun. Okay? So, yung size niya, mukhang caliber 22, pero yung damage niya masyadong malaki. So, from there, you can assume na hindi ito ordinary na caliber 22 revolver ang ginamit or caliber 22 na pistol na ginamit. So, you can now have some assumptions na malamang ito ay high-powered assault rifle na caliber 22. Okay? Again, pag-usapan natin later on yan, ano yung mga assault rifle na tinatawag natin. Ha? Ganun din, kapag lumabas na yan dun sa exit wound yan, so may mga standard na mga sizes niyan, indicating that it is a caliber 40, caliber 45, or whatsoever. And normally, okay, it is greater than the entrance wound. Greater than the entrance wound. Okay? So primarily, the entrance wound is smaller because of the elasticity of the body tissue and the skin, and whereas the exit wound is greater than the caliber of the projectile. Okay? Yan. Again, the point here is the police officer, the investigator, the ballistician, okay, will have an idea as to what caliber and weapon was used in the shooting of the victim. Now, what are the factors influencing the entrance and the exit gunshot wound? In other words, yung caliber 22 or yung caliber 38, hindi pari-parihas yung sizes ng entrance sa exit wound. Okay, depende yan, no? Unang-una, yan ba'y pinaputok yan sa high-powered, no? High-powered na tawag natin na caliber 38, di ba? Okay. So for example, yung 7 and caliber 38, they are more or less exactly the same, no? So Magnum 'yon. So magkaiba yung kanyang appearance, okay? Magkaiba rin yung exit wounds niya kasi iba na yung power ng firearm kung saan ginamit 'to. Another thing, no, I already mentioned to you na may mga firearms ngayon na 2-in-1, no? Anong 2-in-1? Okay? Meron siyang converter, okay? May converter nun. So yung gawa ng Arms Corps, yan from the Rockford Armory in America, no? Meron silang tinatawag na TCM-22 na itong baril na ito ay meron siyang tawag natin, meron siyang gun barrel for 9mm at meron siyang gun barrel for caliber 22. Pero yung caliber 22 nun ay high-powered, di ba? Kasi pointed siya. Okay? So kapag sa ordinary pistol or ordinary caliber 22, mga spherical or round nose, iba yung effect niya doon sa TCM-22 ni Arms Corps kasi mas malaki yung kanyang cartridge at saka pointed ito at bottleneck siya, di ba? So, yun. Another one is of course the caliber of the weapon, no? The greater the size of the wound of entrance, the greater the destruction of the tissues, and basically the higher the caliber. What else? The shape and the composition of the projectile, di ba? So, kapag yan ay caliber 30 parehas, pero yung isang caliber 30 ay round nose siya, yung isang caliber 30 ay pointed, basically magkaiba yung itsura ng entrance sa exit wounds. At the same time, magkaiba rin yung penetrating power niya. Obviously, the penetrating power of the pointed is greater than we call it than the the round nose or the hemispherical. And of course, there is what you call a difference on the tissue destruction. So while hemispherical or yung round nose, okay, had less penetrating but more destruction to the body tissues because of the we call it of the impact, no? Yung natawag nating yung kanyang knocking power niya, no, dun sa body tissues. And of course, yung kanyang composition, say for example, gumamit yan ng mga deforming ballet, di ba? Ayan. Okay, so these are the typical wound profiles after penetrating interior wall intermediate barrier. So yan yung parang pinaka-crosscut ng or hindi crosscut, side cut ng tama. Kapag 9 mm, 147 grain, fired at 1,040 feet per second as compared sa caliber 45, no? Okay, that is the jacketed hollow point. So parehas na hollow point. Pag sabing hollow point, may butas sa dulo. Okay, pero jacketed siya. Jacketed siya, so basically hindi siya nag-expand kasi jacketed yun eh. Kung di sana jacketed yung mag-expand, hindi ganyan yung kanyang tama. So more or less yan yung itsura nung yung kanyang penetration sa kanyang damage niya. Kapag tignan nyo klasa, yung 5.56, di ba? 5.56 mm. Okay, so that is yung ginamit yan sa Armalite kasi nasa 2,925 feet per second yung kanyang velocity. You notice yung distraction sa loob, di ba? At yung deflection ng projectile. So yung nabanggit ko sa inyo na may tendency na mag-deflect yung projectile ng 5.56 kasi masyadong slick siya, saka mabilis, saka pointed siya. So tendency nun, nag-deviate siya ng kanyang exit wound. Okay? At ginamit yan yung full metal jacket yan. Ha? Eh, kung gumamit pa yan ng hollow point, okay, or deforming yan, eh, mas grabe pa yung tama niya. On the other hand, a caliber 223 or .223 Winchester, 69 grains, okay? Ayan. So, nagkukan naman yan. Tawag natin, nagpa-fragment sa loob. Kaya ganun yung kanyang tawag natin yung injury. The 12 gauge Federal number 00 backshot, 9 pellet tactical at 1,045 feet per second. So that yun naman ang appearance ng kanyang damage. And the caliber 308 or .38 or caliber .308, no, or 308, 155 grain. Okay, so ito ay pinaputok ito sa tawag na rifle at 2,850 okay, feet per second. So, ganun yung kanyang makita natin na bakit ganun sir, parang may pabilog, no? Kasi nga yung bursting effect niya. Yung bursting effect nun, ipipressure niya lahat yung mga body tissue nun. So, ang laki ng damage na gagawin nun. Okay? So, yung mga expected na penetration yan, kapag yung 9 mm, expected na mag-penetrate yan hanggang 50 centimeters. So, pag 50 centimeters yan, pwede mag-through and through sa katawan ng tao. Yun ang idea niyan. Kapag yung matabang tao, pag minisure mo yung tao, 60 centimeter, no? Yan, maaring, malusot pa kasi 60 centimeter yan eh. Unless yung katawan ng tao, 1 meter, di ba? Pag 1 meter yung katawan ng tao, maiwan sa loob niyan. Okay, so, moving on. So, other factors, as I've said, whether gumamit ka ng deforming ballet or dom-dom, hollow point, okay, or dom-dom or hollow point. Okay, I mentioned to you about dom-dom ballets, yung ginamit sa katawan ni Ninoy Aquino. Yung kaso na yan ay punong-puno ng conspiracy, no? Yan. Kasi unang-una, makita mo conspiracy kasi dalawa yung na-recover na baril. Okay? Ang na-recover na baril ay dalawang identical na Magnum 357. Diba? Identical. Nakuha kay Rolando Galman, the alleged, we call it gunman. Okay? And another one was taken from Sergeant De Mesa, another suspect, no? Na nakahawak din siya ng Magnum 357. Okay? Pero ang pagkakaiba lang, yung tawag natin, yung yung grip noon. Yung isa black, yung isa white yung grip niya. Okay? And then, of course, hindi, ang isa pang doon, makikita mo na conspiracy yung pagkamatay talaga niya, okay, is yung tinatawag nating identical, pati yung serial number. Di ba? Pati serial number, identical. Di ba? So, pares na pares yung serial number. Okay, so indicating na may conspiracy as to who conspired in the death of Noy Noy, we do not know. Okay, there are only speculations. Okay, now, bakit hindi, sir, hindi ba na-recover yung projectile? Na-recover sa katawan ni, tawag natin, ni Noy Noy yung projectile. Ang problema, ang ginamit nila is dumdum balit. Yung dumdum balit kasi, okay, yan ay, anyway, discussions din natin to sa cartridges, sa projectiles. Yung dumdum balit niyan, hollow point na siya. Pag sinabing hollow point, mayroong butas sa ibabaw, tapos soft point pa siya, soft point. Tapos nagpa-fragment pa siya. Kaya nung pagtama sa katawan ni Noy Noy, nagkon yun. Tawag natin talagang as in na deform. So, na-deform siya at wala nang makikita na individual characteristics. So, with that, hindi malaman kung alin doon sa dalawang na-recover sa crime scene ang talagang ginamit. Yung bang nakuha kay Sergeant De Mesa or yung nakuha kay Orlando Galman. Ganun yun. Okay? Fortunately, some 10 years ago, ano ba nga, in 2021, or more than, siguro mga more or less 20 years, no, ago, mga 18 years, something like that, no, 2003 or 2004, like that. Nakarating kasi ako sa Muntinlupa, hindi ako nakulong class, bakit nakulong ako doon. Nakarating ako doon, dahil yung aming kasama na pastora, na nagmi-mission sa Muntinlupa, eh, nakapag-asawa ng isang reformed na nakakulong sa Muntinlupa, okay? Na nag-aral ng theology sa Muntinlupa at naging pastor sa loob ng Muntinlupa. Pero nakakulong pa rin hanggang ngayon kasi double life yung kanyang sentence, okay? Ngayon, nung kinasal siya, punta kami doon sa Muntinlupa. So, I happened to meet some of the soldiers na tawag natin na involved dun sa kaso ni Rolando Galman case saka Noynoy Aquino. Okay? And most of them, okay, actually were converted to born again and some of them became pastors. No? Ganun ba sila, naging pastor sila. Okay. So yung kanilang pinaka-head doon, si Sergeant De Guzman from Pangasinan, nagkaroon kami ng conversation, mga Ilocano mga yun eh. Conversation kami. And sinabi niya na talagang di raw sila. No? That's according to him. No? But in that, when I was talking with him, medyo believable naman siya, no? Kasi pastor na siya doon. So, believable siya. So, binanggit niya mga other kwento, no? Anyways, that is not part of the topic, pero bigyan ko lang idea na at least meron akong nasagap na A1 information about that case. Galing mismo doon sa tinatawag natin, doon sa isa sa pinaka-main man ng military during that supposed assassination of Noynoy Aquino, no? Pero patay na siya kasi one time nasunog dun sa Muntinlupa, yung pinaka-hospital nila yata doon. Okay? So, kasama yata sa namatay doon yung pastor na yun. Okay? Now, the fragmentary bullets from the knife itself, fragmentary, pag tama niyan, nagpa-fragment siya. So, of course, it will cause further damage, no? Further injury. On the other hand, yung tracer bullet, so nakita nyo dyan sa picture, yung lumilipad na apoy, that is a tracer bullet. So, later on sa ating discussion sa ammunition, sa cartridges na, I will discuss or we will, anong gamit ng tracer bullet. Okay, nasusunog yan. Eh, pag tama niyan sa target, okay, mas may sunog. Akala mo ay near contact point. Yung tawag natin near contact yung gunshot, pero yung pala malayo. Kasi near contact dahil may singeing or mayroong sunog. Yung pala malayo. Only that, gumamit ng tracer bullet. Okay? So, what else? Yung range of fire. Diba? Yung gaano kalayo o gaano kalapit. Okay? That will also, we call it, we call it affecting now the size of the projectile or the size of the gunshot wound as well as the appearance of the gunshot wound. Okay? And then, of course, the direction of the fire. Na? kung anong direksyon siya. Ito ba ay perpendicular or ito ba ay sideward na tumama? Kapag yan ay right angle, pag sabi natin right angle, 90 degrees, that is perpendicular, no? Perpendicular or right angle, that is the same. Or 90 degrees. Yan. Ang ibig sabihin ng diretso noon. Pag diretsong tumama niyan, circular yung tama niya, indicating na ito ay direct hit siya at 90 degrees. Okay? Kapag yan naman ay medyo acute angle yan, or mayroon siyang parang comet-like appearance, oblong siya, okay, basically, galing sa side yung projectile. So, these are some of the factors, no, that may affect the appearance of the exit and the gunshot wound. And of course, anong bahagi ng katawan ng tao, di ba? Anong bahagi? Okay, so depende rin sa bahagi ng katawan ng tao. Kung sa may tuhod na may buto, yan, that will be the appearance kasi may buto eh. Di ba? Unless sa mga matataba sa inyo, di ba? Pag may butong ganyan, iba yung appearance niya as compared dun sa walang buto. Okay, sa may abdomen, sa may dibdib, hindi masyadong matigas yung buto, so iba yung appearance. Okay, so maaring magkaroon ng variation dun sa appearance ng exit at saka entrance wound kasi depende kung anong tinamaan. Okay, there are instances that the bullet will penetrate and usually without any change in direction. Okay, sometimes also it will change direction, particularly mga smaller projectile na mga pointed. Okay, or it may fracture the bone. No, ipa-fracture niya yung buto, pwede siyang lulusot through and through. Or it may be it will also fracture the skull. Okay, and other bones. Okay, causing further damage, or it may deflect to another direction. Yan. Kaya pag tumama sa may tuhod or sa may hip, lumabas sa mayroong likuran, baka sabihin mo na nasa baba yung bumaril. Okay? Kasi bakit doon sa may hip yung tama o bakit sa may shoulder yung entrance wound, yung kanyang exit wound ay nasa bandang tiyan. So maaring sasabihin mo na siguro galing sa taas yung bumaril, di ba? Baka naman perpendicular, kanya lang baka tumama sa may collarbone. Kaya medyo nag-deflect siguro, bumaba sa may tiyan. Di ba? Parang gano'n, okay? Yan. So, those are the possible things na mangyayari doon sa tawag natin sa projectile. And then, of course, it will also affect now the appearance of the entrance and exit wound as well as to the presence of an exit wound. Okay, so further, in the examination of the gunshot wound, okay, ano kaya yung mga tinatawag natin pagkakaiba ng entrance sa exit wound? Okay? So kapag sinabi nating entrance wound, so ito may mga tinatawag nating may mga contusion collar, may mga abrasion collars, may mga dirt ring, okay? May mga gunpowder residue. So those are the things na maaring makita doon. Okay? So another thing is yung appearance niya, no? Kasi take note, just like doon sa nandiyan sa kanan ninyo na image, yan ay sa skull yan, sa ulo niya, no? So yung skull, may pagkakaiba lang siya ng konti doon sa tawag natin sa glass. Sa glass kasi iba yung kanyang fracture, no? Baliktad yung kanyang concentric sa kanyang radial fracture, magkaiba nun. Pero sa skull kasi, dahil din naman yan elastic, no? So more or less, kapag sa bandang kaliwa, ay mayroong mga fragments of bones or mga skulls doon. So, maaring doon nga galing yung projectile. Then, sa kabilang banda, sa right, okay, wala namang mga splinters or fractures ng skull doon sa loob ng doon, kundi nasa loob ng utak, so nasa labas lahat. So, maaring yun ang pinaka-exit mo doon. So, magkaiba yung appearance doon. Practical, as we have said a while ago, pwedeng mas malaki or pwedeng na-deform yung tawag natin yung exit wound kasi magdadala siya ng mas maraming tissue palabas. Or kapag nag-deform na yung projectile, mas malaki yung kanyang lalabasan. So further, kapag yan ay entrance wound, yan, meron siyang muzzle pattern. In other words, ano yung pattern ng muzzle ng firearm? Pag tinutok yan, okay, at may marka yung muzzle pattern doon ng barrel, then obviously, yan ay masasabi that is a contact gunshot wound, contact wound. Okay? Yan. And normally, they are observed in suicide cases. Yan. And the edges are found rugged because of the pressure of the expansive force of gas. And then the wound is like an exit wound. Kasi nga, force, yung blasting, no? Yung muzzle blast, saka yung tawag natin yung the muzzle blast and other pressures doon. So yun, para siya mukhang exit wound. Ang pagkakaiba lang noon ay meron siyang mga burning doon at may mga gunpowder residue at merong muzzle pattern. What else? Scorching, yung pagkasunog caused by the flame or hot gases, okay, not by the hot projectiles. Hindi yung hot projectiles nagkokos niyan. Kasi yung hot projectiles, ang kinokos niyan, contusion, ang kinokos nun. Contusion collar or abrasion collar, ang kinokos nun. So, pag may sunog, yan, ibig sabihin yan, yan yung entrance wound. Okay? Then, kapag may blackening, iba, sir, pares ba yung blackening sa kayong sunog? Yung blackening kasi, yan yung mga deposit smoke particles by all types of powders at the close range. Pag close range yan, okay, siguro mga less than 1 meter or nearer to that, pag binaril mo yan, may yung mga smoke, hindi na nakarating doon yung apoy doon, yung flame, kundi yung usok na lang. So, nagkaroon ng natawag nating blackening. Then, moving on, may tattooing naman. No? Ito yung mga embedding of unburnt and semi-burnt powder. Mga hindi nasunog or semi-burnt, tumalsik yan. So, mayroon siyang mga tattooing marking. So, that will indicate that that is indeed the entrance wound. What else? Contusion collar. So, pag nabi natin contusion, doon sa ating legal medicine, parang may pasa. Ang ibig sabihin ng contusion, may pasa. Okay, parang pinalo mo, nagkaroon ng contusion. So, ganon, since may impact, pag tama sa katawan, may impact siya, so magkaroon ng contusion around the entrance wound. In the absence of contusion collar, then that is the exit wound. Kasi lahat mayroong contusion collar. Pag sinabing abrasion collar, yun yung paggasgas, papasok. Abrasion is yung mga scratches niya, no? So, mayroon siyang scratch, papasok. Yung contusion collar naman niya, minsan tinatawag nila yung contusion collar na abrasion collar kasi halos magkakadikit yan. Minsan tinatawag nilang rim collar or rim collar kasi nga medyo halos nagkakadikit na yan sa abrasion sa contusion. Minsan magkasama pa yung contusion sa yung tawag natin yung abrasion collar. Pero ang abrasion collar kasi yung gasgas pasok. Yung contusion yun yung pasa, di ba? Then moving on further. Okay, the contusion is caused by the impact of the projectile. Normally, reddish dark or to bluish black. Parang yung pag pinalo, ano mangyayari ng kamay pag pinalo? Kaso ganun din yun. But it varies somewhat with the age of the injury and takes the form of the belt around the wound and normally uniform in thickness surrounding it. Okay? That is your contusion ring or the contusion collar. Okay? Na natawag natin indication na yan ay entrance wound. Moving on further, other gunshot wound characteristics. Sa entrance, lalong-lalo, mayroong pink discoloration, di ba? Pink discoloration because of the absorption of the carbon monoxide in the skin. The first, take note na kapag yung kasing carbon monoxide, pag nadagdag yan sa ating body tissue at yung ating body tissue mayroong yung blood, nagre-react sa blood yan, karoon ng pink discoloration. Ganon din sa lungs. Kapag yung tao ay tawag natin na poison yan due to carbon monoxide poisoning, okay, magkakaroon yan ng tinatawag natin ng pink discoloration dun sa kanyang lungs, indicating na nakaamoy siya ng carbon monoxide. Take note, carbon monoxide, hindi yun carbon dioxide. Kasi ang carbon dioxide, wala nang effect sa katawan na, wala nang kwan wala na siyang chemical reaction yun. Ang carbon monoxide ang meron, okay? Ang carbon monoxide kasi that is already incompletely burned yan. Carbon monoxide incompletely burned, so magre-react pa siya sa blood. Magre-react pa siya sa body tissues na may blood. Pero yung carbon dioxide, iba yun. That is already completely burned yun. Okay, there may be some deposited dirt surrounding the we call it the entrance wound. Maaring galing sa mismong sa gun barrel, galing doon, or maaring tawag natin galing doon sa bullet, maaring may grease, parang gano'n, no? Grinasaan or lagyan ng oil. Pag naglilinis, nilagyan ng oil. Minsan nasubran ng oil. Okay, kaya doon sa may chamber, may oil. Okay, so maaring dumikit yan sa kwan. sa tawag natin sa projectile, pwedeng dala-dala niya hanggang dun sa katawan ng tao. Again, it may be na kasi pwedeng masusunog yung oil while nagbabagay yung projectile. And other foreign materials not only permits the identification of the firearms injury, but they also permit a fairly reliable guess of firearms. So for example, merong mga waddings or wads ng shotgun. So, ito shotgun to kasi may waddings to, di ba? Okay. Then, what else? In gunshot wound examination, you can also determine now the relative position of shooter and victim. So, pag sinabing relative position, importante kasi yan, lalong-lalo pag nag-imbestiga ka ng murder or homicide. Doon sa murder kasi, ang pinag-usapan natin dyan, there is what you call an evident premeditation, meaning pinagplanuhan. Kaya kapag murder yan, normally, kailangan malaman yung motive because that motive drives the person to plan the killing of the person. Okay? Although there are some instances that the motive is not necessary insofar as murder is concerned, particularly if the death is or the killing is done by the use of explosive, di ba? Pag gumamit ka ng explosive, okay, that is a qualifying circumstance of murder. Kapag yan ay nighttime, no? Pero depende sa nighttime ha. Yung nighttime na tinatawag natin, yung assuring impunity or assuring, we call it, assuring yung hindi mamumukhaan yung tao. So, pwede yon. Pero hindi siya necessary na kapag nighttime may automatic na murder. No? May mga certain conditions yan para maging qualifying circumstance yung darkness or yung nighttime. Okay? In cases of, we call it, murder and homicide. Okay? So, again, kapag sa likod binaril, yan, that will indicate na walang kalaban-laban yung tao. So, there is treachery. So, treachery is one of the qualifying circumstance of murder. So, importante na malaman yung position. Di ba? Kung harap-harapan yan or nasa side or nasa likod. Okay? That may indicate now also what you call na ito nga ay hindi accidental, hindi ito suicidal or ito ay murder, parang ganoon. Okay? So, again, how would you know the relative position? Testimony ng mga witnesses, di ba? O, testimony nila. Ano pa? Okay. Pwede rin yung gunshot wound mismo, di ba? Yung sabi ko nga sa inyo na kapag ito ay direct hit yan, circular. Kapag angular, that is comet-like or yan ay oblong. Then moving on, okay, the relative position, as I've said, so, ganyan appearance niya. The yellow arrow, yun yung direction. You notice, medyo oblong yung tawag natin yung gunshot wound, oblong siya. Pansinin nyo, walang contusion collar dito. Ito yung contusion collar. Yan yung contusion collar. May pasa. So, nandito yung contusion collar. Kung meron man dito, ay kunti lang. Okay? Ayan. Tapos, para siyang comet or circular siya. No? Or oblong siya. Indicating na dito galing yung projectile. Okay? Another one is, ito nga, yung perpendicular. So, harap-harapan siguro or nasa likod. Like that, no? And then, oblique. Okay? Oblique angle, whether acute or obtuse, no? Paside. So, pansinin nyo, nandito yung tawag natin, yung contusion collar niya. Samantalang kapag yan ay perpendicular, at least diretsong ganyan. Okay? Of course, kapag diretso yan, more or less circular yung mga kalat dito sa surrounding niya. Kapag yan ay oblique, so kung saan galing yung projectile, nandun din yung mga contusion collar and other dirts and other oils. Okay? Ayan. So, moving on further, the examination of the gunshot wound will also indicate the distance or proximity of shooter. When I say distance, that is gaano kalayo or gaano kalapit. So, you have that a diagram. Okay? Yung diagram na more or less habang papalayo yung target, ganyan yung appearance ng tawag natin yung singeing, okay, yung burning, okay. Then you have the we call it the blackening created by the smoke. Then you have the gunpowder, the unburnt or semi-burnt gunpowder, nagkakreate ng tattooing. Then later on, as you go further, ay wala ng mga smoke, wala ng gunpowder residue, okay? Wala ng mga tattooing or wala ng tinatawag nating singeing sa area. So, indicating na mas malayo na yung shooter, okay? So, for example, sabi niya, harap-harapan, naggagawan kami ng baril, di ba? Naggagawan kami ng baril. Tapos, while we were grappling, nakalabit yung baril, nabaril siya. It turned out, wala namang mga tawag natin, wala namang blackening, wala namang mga tattooing, or wala namang gunpowder residue, indicating na nagsisinungaling yung shooter, di ba? Suspect. Ibig sabihin, malayo nung binaril niya, di ba? Okay, so more or less, sa kanyang surface, yung image dyan sa baba, yun ang maging appearance ng gunshot wound, indicating now the approximate distance of the shooter. Again, as I've said, yung distance na yan ay pwedeng magawa yan by series of test firing. So, in contact, or when the gun muzzle is pressed against or within an inch or two of the body, okay, that is the very proximate, or more or less contact ang tawag natin doon. Kahit medyo mas malayo ng konti, contact na rin yon. Kapag yan nakadikit, merong muzzle pattern. Kapag close discharge, more or less 6 inches to 2 feet. And then distance discharge would be 2 feet to 3 feet, and the long range, no, or the greater distance would be above that, 3 feet. Okay, so from the gunshot wound, pwede rin nating makita whether yan ay homicidal, accidental, or self-inflicted or suicidal, di ba? So balik ka lang dun sa unang-una, yung gunshot wound or any wound in the body, no, whether that is created by a firearm or by we call it by a firearm or by a bladed weapon like that. Always, kapag yan ay suicidal, dapat yan yung proximity ng sugat ay it is within the reach of the we call it the strong hand of the victim, strong hand niya. Kapag right-handed ka, basically ang mga sugat mo more or less sa may right temple, sa may right leg, sa may right neck, no? Right leg, right neck. Yan, bakit naghalo yung Tagalog dun sa English, no? Right leg, okay, right neck. Yan. Okay? Sa may temple, no? Okay, alam nga naman pag paputukan mo yung sarili mo, gaganyan mo, papahirapan mo, papakamatay ka na. Ang babae, kalimitan, hindi yan binabaril yung mukha. Okay? Kasi yung alam yung babae, pag namamatay yan, gusto pa rin niya i-preserve yung beauty niya. Di ba? Kaya bihira yung babae na babaril niya mukha niya, o yung bunganga niya, bibihira nun. Kasi somehow gusto ng babae na ma-preserve yung ganda niya, no? But again, when I say bibihira, there are still, we call it cases na babaril niya mukha niya. Okay? Pero kalimitan, hindi sa mukha. Yan. What else? Yung magkakaroon ng tinatawag nating magkakaroon ng cadaveric spasm dito sa may gumamit ng baril, no? Cadaveric spasm. Okay? Say for example, in this case, hindi natin alam to kung ito ay suicide or homicidal. Okay? Pero dapat yan, merong tinatawag nating, meron yan instantaneous rigor or cadaveric spasm. No? In your legal medicine, may tinatawag na cadaveric spasm, na kapag pinutok mo yung baril, nakatension yung kamay mo rito, so pag sa ulo yan, outright yan. Okay, pag sa ulo yan, outright mamatay yan. So normally, hawak-hawak niya yung baril pag bagsak niya. O kung hindi man niya hawak yung baril, mabitawan niya, pero matigas ito. Nagkakaroon ng instantaneous rigor or cadaveric spasm na tinatawag niyo sa legal medicine. So indicating na ito yung strong hand niya. Okay? So, what else? May mga history ng self-infliction, di ba? Pag may history yung babae, okay? And of course, yung lahat ng mga yan will be corroborated by reconstruction of the crime scene, okay? And by, we call it other background of the victim, okay? Kung talagang siya ba ay prone sa mag-commit ng suicide, okay? Or kung mayroong yung kwarto, mayroong disarray sa kwarto, indicating na mayroong violence or mayroong struggling before the death of the person. So more or less, those will indicate na it will corroborate now the, we call it the findings on the examination of the gunshot wound. Okay? Now, moving on, paano rin malalaman kung yan ay antemortem or postmortem yung tawag natin yung gunshot wound? Pag sinabing antemortem, buhay pa siya nung binaril. Meron namang tinatawag na patay na siya nung binaril. Sir, meron bang ganun? Meron, di ba? Bago niyong kalimutan yung discussion ninyo sa Criminal Law Book 1, your impossible crime, di ba? What is that impossible crime? Ano yon? Okay? That is when you kill a person who is already dead. That is impossible crime. Why? Because the intended crime, no? The intended crime is not, we call it, is not produced, okay? Because of the ineffectual means. Di ba? Wala nang effect, di ba? Yan. Say for example, okay, gusto mong patayin yung kalaban mo. Okay? Sinugod mo sa bahay nila. Nakita mo, nakahiga siya, tutulog, binaril mo. It turn out, matagal na pala siyang patay, di ba? Dahil nabangungot or namatay sa COVID, di ba? Impossible crime of murder ang tawag nila doon. Okay, so ngayon, paano malalaman kung yan ay tawag natin yan ay postmortem wound or antemortem wound, okay? Well, matagal-tagal na panahon, no? 20 years ago, mga bata pa kayo, no? 20 years ago, when I was teaching at the University of Baguio, mga subject ko kasi mga investigation, mga subject ko, investigation, legal med, mga subject ko, mga special crime, mga subject ko doon. So, meron kasi sa University of Baguio, merong cadaver room, no? So, 20 years ago, classmates, ang usapan natin, ha? So, may cadaver room yon, may cadaver room, yan yung mga ginagamit ng mga allied medical students, okay? Andun lahat yung mga bangkay doon, lahat ng mga laman loob ng tao nandun. So, ginagamit ko yon kapag tawag natin pag nagtuturo ako ng homicide investigation. Yan. So, it turned out, merong doktor naman doon na magaling sa pathology. No? He's actually a pathologist. So, siya tinatawag ko na kasakasama ko doon. Ay, siyempre, aminin ko, di ko naman alam yun, di ba? So, I need somebody na expert sa akin, di ba? Tatawag ko na expert ng mga pathologist, doktor doon. Natawag ko sila, sir, paturo naman, anong gagawin natin? Okay? Di ko rin alam itong explain yan, yung mga antemortem, postmortem, mga ganyan. Di ko rin ma-explain mga yan, yung mga anong klase mga sugat niyan, okay? So, normally, doon kami sa cadaver room, nagkaroon ng mga lecture, cadaver room. So, in-explain niya yung paano malalaman na kapag sinugat mo yung tao, ay cause yun ng yun ay postmortem na yun. Ibig sabihin, patay na siya nung sinugat siya. Okay? Nagbigti yung tao, pag may sugat siya, okay, yung bang sugat niya ay yan ba ay postmortem or antemortem, di ba? Mga ganon, di ba? Mga ganong bagay mga titingnan doon. So, ganon din yung gunshot wound. So, ang pinakakuan niyan, normally, kapag yan ay yung sugat ay antemortem, meaning before death, no? May hemorrhage yan. Mag-hemorrhage siya, no? Okay? May hemorrhage yan. Ibig sabihin, mag-bleeding yan. Okay? So, somehow, mayroong mga blood drops sa likod or sa harapan. Pero kapag patay na yan, particular, pag napatay kasing tao, okay, ay natawag natin, nagkakaroon na ng, kumbaga yung postmortem lividity, no? Okay, that the body fluid will, we call it, will go down, no? Will go down to the most dependent portion of the body by the pull of, by the gravitational force, yan. Kaya pag binaril mo yung tao na patay na, lalong-lalo kapag medyo isang oras nang namatay, tendency nun, wala nang bleeding, no? Okay? Ganun din sa tao, pag namatay na siya, medyo ilang minuto na yan, okay? At medyo nag-subside na yung mga dugo niya, pag binaril mo sa ibabaw, halos wala nang tatalsik na dugo yan. Okay? So, yun ang mga idea nun. At the same time, kapag kasi yung katawan ng tao na buhay, pag hiniwa mo yan, take note, elastic yung ating mga katawan natin, elastic, di ba? Okay, kapag ginanyan yung kamay nyo, class, pag pinisil yung kamay ninyo at hindi na siya nag-contract pabalik, ibig sabihin patay ka na, di ba? You're already in the second stage of placidity, na tawag natin. Pero normally, pag gaganyan mo yan, babalik yan. Pag pinisil mo, hindi na bumalik yan, patay na yan, okay? Pisilin mo yung kamay mo, pag di bumalik yan, anak, patay ka na, okay? So, ganun yun. Pag hiniwa mo rin yan, may elasticity siya. Bubuka siyang ganon. Magaganon siya. Samantalang yung patay, hindi na halos bubuka yan. Ano mo yung idea? Okay, so, of course, this thing, Ginagamit 'to 'pag may mga kaso ng tawag natin, mga kaso ng, impossible crimes, gano'n. Kaya ginagamit 'yan, okey? O kaya yung tao nasunog, na-injured, hindi siya masyadong sunog. So, puwedeng gamitin mga 'yan to, prove or disprove something, okey? Ayan. So, what else? Paano kapag multiple gunshot wound? So, importante 'yon, 'no? 'Pag, sa multiple gunshot wound, okay, ina-apply natin yung tinatawag nating odd-even rule, okay? Ano bang odd-even rule na 'yan? Okay, kung sabing odd-even rule, if the number of entrance wound is, equivalent, okay, to the number of, if the number of the entrance and exit wounds are equal, then, the assumption is that, no bullet is left on the body of the victim. So, walang naiwang, projectile sa loob ng katawan ng biktima. Kapag, siyam yung, exit wound or entrance wound, siyam din yung exit. So, sinasabi mo na tawag natin walang naiwan. Again, that is an assumption kasi pwede rin na yung projectile ay nag-split sa loob kaya nag-cause siya ng additional na tawag natin na entrance or na exit wound. So, vice versa, ganun din. If the number of the entrance wound is less than the number or is more than the number of exit wound, then the assumption is that merong naiwang projectile sa loob ng katawan na importanteng hanapin mo, di ba? Importanteng hanapin mo kasi yun na ang pwedeng gamitin mo na ma-recover mo na projectile na mag-indicate kung sino yung shooter or anong baril ang ginamit, di ba? Or anong specific baril na ginamit, di ba? Ganon yun. Okay, parang yung mga nag-oopera rin yan, dapat binibilang nila kung ilan yung mga instrument nila, mga gunting, mga ganon. Kasi nagkakataon, naiwan pala yung gunting sa loob ng tiyan, di ba? Okay. Now, what about in the multiple gunshot wound? Importante rin na malaman mo yung pinakauna na gunshot wound. Yung unang tumama. Kasi yung unang tumama, yun ang mag-indicate kung yun ay ano yung position nila. Okay, kung talagang mayroon bang accidental or mayroon bang homicidal or murder, di ba? Okay? Yung unang wound kasi na yon, mag-indicate yung unang position ng shooter sa kabiktima. Ano bang position nila? Di ba? O may tama sa harap, may tama dito sa may bandang tagiliran. Anong nauna doon? Okay, kapag sa may bandang tagiliran o sa bandang likod yung tama, yun ang unang tumama doon, nag-indicate na may treachery. So, maaring ma-afflict yung kaso into murder rather than homicidal, di ba? Or homicide. Okay? Pag nauna dito sa harapan, so more or less, maaring gamitin ni suspect or ni accused na defense na walang murder but rather it is homicidal. So, ganun bagay. So, paano pag tatlo, apat? Alamin mo, unang-una, mag-interview ka ng witnesses, di ba? Tapos, yung ano ba yung relative position nila noon, di ba? Mga ganon. Kaya yun mga gagamitin mo para malaman mo asan doon yung first inflicted. Ha? Yun ang muna doon para at least ma-eliminate mo kung mayroong ng suicidal or mayroong accidental or homicidal or murder yung killing. Okay?